All right, so welcome to another video target individual program, the target individual experience. So, Pam texts me. My phone is right in front of me. Uh, Pam texts me about her mail and how she had to write a letter to Kevin in her building, who has access to, I guess, the building surveillance system. So I texted. I said, "Is that?" I said, "Did you speak to him last night? What have you? You know?" And she was like, "No, I just wrote him because I'm trying to figure out, when I call, why didn't you answer the phone? I mean, she has her reasons, whatever it is, you know. But my issue, and I keep telling her this because I've been through this with Bryce's mother. When I call to speak to my kids, don't interfere with that. I don't care what you're doing or who you're talking to. But the fact that and I had to tell her last before the whole situation happened last night. We was on the phone before that, and I said, I don't understand that how when you look at in our community, when you look at young males, black males, being raised by single uh, mothers, right, and then they play all these games, right, they're hurting their sons and their daughters, but they don't see it because again they've been conditioned with this malignant narcissism, and they don't know. I was speaking to my ex the other day. She was like, she's like, the difference between a narcissist and a malignant narcissist, and a person who has narcissistic personality disorder or malignant narcissistic personality disorder is that what a narcissist can change. Right? It's a person who, they may have, and we all have this. We all hear the sirens. I just got out of class, and they started with the sirens. I was going to get to that, but a narcissist is someone who, and we're in this society that we live in, this capitalistic society, we all have some narcissistic behaviors that we exhibit, right? Just because of the nature of the society that we live in, right? And so, but I think a lot of us can realize that, hey, we can see our wrong and then try to correct it or right it, right? Whereas people who are malignant narcissistic personality disorder can't change because they don't see the narcissistic behavior within themselves. Okay, they'll see it in other people and want to tell those other people about their narcissism because again they don't want to do the change, so they have the other person must do the change, right? So that's the difference, right? So malignant narcissistic personality disorder within people is that they don't even realize it within themselves, so they can't change. Whereas people who have narcissistic personality, some narcissistic traits, are able to do some self-reflection and change their behavior. Okay, so yeah, so I was in class and they were targeting me in class and stuff like that. So the professor didn't call my name. I know he didn't call my name because I record my classes, you know. And so when at the end of the class, he's like, okay, that's it. I'm just like, hey, you never called my name. Then another person comes, the female person, she's like, she said, you didn't call my name either. He's like, what's your last name? He's like, oh, my last name is Pork. All right, you hear all that? Okay, you hear all that, right? Anyway, and this happened. This is happening after class. During class, they stopped that. In the beginning, they were doing it during class, right? And so I'm glad I'm doing this video afterwards. So, what are these people again? Side of my window. I'm telling you that they never stop. You know. So anyway, so she texts me, and I'm like, okay, so you turned your phone off, but then you texted me this morning, right? As if to say, oh well, what happened last night didn't happen, you know. Not to say, hey, this is the reason why such and yeah, I didn't tell Ethan or what have you, the kids that I call, stuff like that. But this is again, if I had not been through this already, okay, I would be livid, okay. because again, not understanding how they use us against each other, and they use our emotions, against us and each other, is something that you have to, and I guess a lot of us go through, not just as TIs, but fathers, who have to deal with mothers of their children who have, behave like this, right? Because it's like, for them, if they don't get what they want, then they take it out on you. Okay? And even when what they want is not from you but from somebody else, and they don't get that, they still take it out on you because they constantly blame you, right? They blame you for their decisions that they make. Okay, and this is a problem in our community, is that no one holds black women accountable, right? It's just as we as TIs. No one wants to hold the people doing this to us accountable, okay? But they want to blame us, okay? Which we are victims. Regardless of, we hear TI say, well, I don't have a victim mentality. I don't have a victim mentality. I just talk about what's going on, what's been done to me, and I'm a victim. Okay? You see, I'm going to school. I'm still taking care of my kids. I'm doing all you think the things that I need to do, despite the odds, despite the shit that they do. And you hear it all night. Last night, I'm trying to study, and again, with the remote monitoring and the shit that happened, where I couldn't get to speak to my kids for whatever reason, but it was done for a purpose. It was done for. See, I'm not in a classroom anymore, right? So they can't do the street theater. So what they're doing is that they're using situations between me and Pam, or me and my family, to run these skits, right? Or these theaters, okay? And what does that do, right? So it puts your mind as a TI in a state of just numbness, to where you forget. And this is what they used to do whenever I had to study for a test. And I studied hours and hours and hours, and I really studied. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And I'll go into the classroom, and before the test start, the students will start participating in the harassment, and then I'll forget. Right? I'll look at the page, nothing can, So this is what they're doing. So I've been studying math, even since before I came out to school. Because math is not my strongest subject, right? So I follow along these classes online, and when I figure shit out, when it's like last night when I was doing a problem I got stuck on, and then I finally figure it out because of the remote neural monitoring, what I'm writing, and they see what I'm writing, and then once I get it right, they started with the sirens to try to deter me, right? To try to deter me. Okay, this is what they do, right? So because they attack me with these weapons and the psychological programming to try to dumb me down and take away my intelligence, because that's what they want to do. And this is what they've done to a lot of us, not just TIs, but black people. Yes, they've done this to a lot of us. Okay, so this is what what happens. So today, like in class, what have you, with like, what was your last name, Polk? Now I remember my son's mother, Deslin. She mentioned something about or you Pokemon. I guess when we're having sex, what have you, right? You Pokemon, right? So they always try to use that term. I never could understand that because I'm not a poke kind of guy. So I don't know where they're getting it from. But again, this is things that they'll have people say to you to try to, as a man, as a black man, they have this idea that our sexual drive, that's all we think about is sex, which is not. That's what they think. That's what they think we think. Okay? Because you know what? This is what they've done to us. But they don't want to talk about that. Right? They don't want to talk about that. And that goes back to slavery. Okay? That goes back to slavery, where they'll have the father, the brother, the son sleeping with the sister, the daughter, the mother, the aunt, the niece, or what have you, in order to breed, right? Because they had breeding farms. And I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, imagine how many black people in America, right? Those black people, are actually related to one another and don't even know it. where you had interbreeding within the family structure, and also in the Caribbean. See, no one wants to talk about those things. How those things pass down through our DNA, right? How those traumas pass down through our DNA, right? So why they don't want to talk about these things? They'll talk about everything else, but they don't talk about the 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 breeding farms that produce hundreds of interbreeding individuals from hundreds of individuals from interbreeding, even thousands. Okay, I mean, how do you think after slavery ended, the population of black people in America grew so much? You got to think about that, right? But again, this is something that people don't, even black historians don't want to think about that or talk about these things and how it affects us today, right? So they always try to use the sexual thing, and but again, that's their fantasies, right? That's their sickness, that's their evil morality, okay? Because they get off on you know seeing black men have sex. They get off of that shit, okay? It's the sexualization of the black body, is what they call it, within the minds of white people, right? And I'm not speaking anything that's bullshit. I'm speaking facts and truth. And a lot of people may be uncomfortable with these things I talk about, but these things that we need to talk about within the black community, not the TI community. So you guys, TIs, you gotta just let this go by your head. Don't even but understand that a lot has been done to us as black people. And I know you're a TI, and you're gonna get defensive and say, well, what about me? Because I'm a TI and this and that. I understand that. I'm a TI too, but I'm also a black person, and we have a history, right? In Western society, particularly in America, the Caribbean, Europe, of what was done to our ancestors. I'm making this. I say, when after World War II, when the Jews, when Germany was defeated, the Nazis defeated, and what happened to the Jewish people, the survivors? Okay, they had years of psychological therapy. Black people didn't have that. Black people didn't have that. So they passed on traumas to their children, from generation to generation, and even to a point where we were, even though we were still have trauma, but we stuck together as a group because we were all we had until after the civil rights bill passed and integration, and that just destroyed everything for us, including our family. And so, and not to say integration is bad, but it's how they integrated blacks into society. Okay, it was integration. It wasn't economic integration, economic equality. All right, and that's the takeaway. All right, so so then and then the removal of jobs within the urban cities in which the majority of black men had jobs. They were working. They could have provided for their family. All of a sudden, they couldn't anymore. Okay, so we never want to talk about those things that affect us as black people. But in the TI community, when I talk about these things, remember, I'm talking from a black perspective. It doesn't mean that it takes away from your experience as a TI. It doesn't mean that, right? So, like I said, let me just, all right. So it doesn't take away from your experience as a TI, whether you're white, Asian, what have you. Okay, Asian people in America, you guys, have experience too. In World War II, what happened? Japanese American thrown into internment camp. Okay, so and there are TIs that are Japanese American. One of my best associates, who's a TI, she's Japanese American. Okay, and so we talk about these things. All right, so if you're white, you may not be able to understand. You may feel defensive or what have you. Then that's on you. That's an issue that you have to work on within yourself. But anyway, and I sympathize with you. Because you're a TI. All right. So yeah. So these things, we have to talk about. I talk about, because again, that's part of my experience. All right. And I talk about everything that's part of my experience, because the only way people's going to learn and understand what's going on and know the truth is that if I'm honest in terms of what's happening with me. Okay? So, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.